What is going on, guys? Jason Burke here, Styles Clash for Life, coming at you on YouTube, and today I've got some football focus. The Pittsburgh Steelers just finished their Week 2 matchup, their home opener of the 2022 NFL season against the New England Patriots, and as always, the Patriots are a hard team to play. It doesn't matter whether it's Tom Brady, Matt Castle, Mac Jones. The Patriots are a well-run system coached by a genius in Bill Belichick, and they're always a tough team to play. To make matters more compounded in the home opener, we came into this game without our team captain, TJ Watt, the Defensive Player of the Year, reigning and defending. He's out for the next 4 games, and we've got 4 games ahead of us. We knew that we weren't going to get the kind of pressure without Watt that we do when he's in there, and of course that was the case. The final score of this game was a loss for us, 17-14. The Patriots eked out a 3-point win, and I have to commend both sides of the ball to some degree, but also both sides of the ball were very hard to watch. There were high points and low points for each, but I want to have some positives in this review as well, because even though it's a loss, it's not all bad. We're seeing a lot of players playing pretty well. Let me get to the stats first, and I'll get to the game recap. Again, the defense overall carried this team. I know we have 17 points against us here. The 2 touchdowns we allowed, one was at the very end of the first half on very good coverage by Kello Weatherspoon. He was stride for stride with, who's the receiver? Nelson Aguilar was going down the sidelines. It was a 50-50 ball down the sidelines toward the end zone. Kello Weatherspoon was stride for stride with him, got his head around, got good positioning, jumped up, and Nelson Aguilar just jumped higher and high-pointed the ball and took it away from Weatherspoon and got himself in the end zone to end the first half, with the Patriots up 10-3, with the offense doing very little. And so even though we gave a touchdown up on that play, the defense played very well on that. Weatherspoon could not have done much better. There were a couple other plays that Weatherspoon got beat on that he was in really good position, showing good speed, good football position. Receivers were just diving for good balls. They were just plays that we saw receivers like Jacoby Myers making really good plays on the ball that Weatherspoon was in very good coverage for. Same for Levi Wallace. The corners technically did get beat for some wide receiver plays in this game, but they were in good spots. But that was one touchdown that was, I don't want to say fluky because it was a very good play by Nelson Aguilar, but Weatherspoon couldn't have played it any tighter. And the second touchdown we gave up was due to a muffed punt by Gunnar Olszewski that the Patriots recovered on like the 10-yard line, and they went in to score a touchdown, which we came back and scored the next possession. But, after a long defensive stop, you give the team the ball back on the 10-yard line from a muff punt. That's going to happen. Sometimes the defense did have their issues trying to stop the Patriots' run at the end of the game. Patriots had the ball with like 4 minutes left, and Pittsburgh could not stop the run because after all game of having fast offensive drives and being forced on the field for most of the game, you're going to be tired. And the defense eventually does get tired and lacks their number 1 star out there, so things happen. But all in all, I was pretty impressed with the defense in spite of the 17 points and in spite of the 2 touchdowns that really weren't the defense's fault, to be honest with you. Mitch Trubisky in this game, 21 of 33, 168 yards, 1 touchdown, 1 pick. The touchdown was the Pittsburgh's really only good offensive drive of the day. Pittsburgh scores 14 points in this game, 1 touchdown, 2 field goals, and 1 2-point conversion. Mitch really only had the 1 good drive. It was very much a game-managing game on offense, much like it was last week. This offense is definitely a plotting kind of a 4 to 5 yard play offense. We'll get into that. Najee Harris, 15 carries, 49 yards, plus 5 catches for 40 yards. That's where he shined today. Gunnar Olszewski, in spite of his fumble on special teams, also did have an 18-yard jet sweep play, which was our second, really our best running play of the day overall, but he was our second leading rusher with 18 yards. Receiving-wise, Deontay Johnson, 6 catches, 57 yards, plus a 2-point conversion for us, and Freiermuth with the only touchdown of the day for the Steelers. So offensively, I got to say this. Fans were already chanting for Kenny Pickett. It's the second, it was mid-third quarter of the second game of the season, and it's only the home opener today. Today was the first chance we could have to chant for Kenny Pickett, because last week was played on the road. So this was the first chance we had at home, and the Steeler fans made it 1 half and a half of the way through the third quarter in the first game. Half of 1 game before the fickle Steeler fans started chanting for Kenny Pickett. I understand we're frustrated. I understand it's a slow, plodding offense. I understand we're not moving the ball. But you have to understand some things here. And I'm not the world's biggest Trubisky fan. I wasn't a big fan of the signing. But he is a game-managing quarterback who's competent, and he is a guy who's won games before. You have to understand this. Number one, he was brought in to be a veteran bridge for Kenny Pickett or some other quarterback to be the future starter. He's a game manager. That's what he did mostly in Chicago. That's what he's doing here. His job is to not turn the ball over, which he did once today. But he managed the game kind of fine. The problem is, number two, the offensive line is horrible. That was my biggest negative last week. It's my biggest negative this week. This offensive line is so bad. James Daniels got beat for like a -5 run stuff play. Then he had a holding call on the next play. Dan Moore Jr. had another false start. That's his second week with a pre-snap penalty. This offensive line is giving up so much push that Mitch Trubisky is running for his life out there. Mitch has to run off his back foot constantly, and Najee can't get any running game going. So now you're turning your veteran game manager into a guy who's running for his life, who can't get set, who can't throw down the field. You're not giving your receivers time to get open because your line stinks, and you're not establishing a run game, which means your offense is one-dimensional. On top of all those things, which are going against Trubisky for no reason, is the fact that our offensive coordinator has not been very good. I know it's 2 games into the season. I know Canada's got a new quarterback now for his system, and I know they're showing some bits of positive reinforcement. We're seeing some positive things, but Matt Canada's play calling has to get better. I like the fact that we're using motion. I like that we're using Freiermuth a lot. I like how we're using Claypool. We're using Chase Claypool's big body. There are some positives, but the play calling has to get better. We have to stop putting ourselves in 3rd and long. That's with the play calling and with the offensive line penalties. And we have to start throwing beyond the sticks on 3rd down. When it's 3rd and 5 or more, you throw beyond the sticks. You don't throw behind the line of scrimmage and hope that your guys can run for it. That's not going to work most of the time. Once in a while, you'll get a guy like Najee breaking tackles or Deontay making moves, but for the most part, you've got to throw the ball beyond the sticks. That was a big issue I had with the previous coordinator. It's one I have as well with Matt Canada. Now, like I said, what I do like is they're targeting Freiermuth. They're using inside screens. They're using some things to get Freiermuth the ball more, including the nice inside touchdown. They're using Claypool's big body. He's getting more jet sweeps. He's getting more screens. They're looking for Claypool a lot more, and he's touching the ball a lot. I think he had 5 catches in this game, and I like how they're using him a lot better this year than he was used last year. They're using his strong frame. They're letting him break tackles and extend plays, and I like that. Also, big positive for Deontay Johnson. Again, he led us this week with 57 yards receiving and a 2-point conversion. He's catching everything. I know he started catching stuff at the beginning of last season, then fell off toward the end of last season, but Deontay's biggest knock has always been his hands. His athleticism is great. His footwork is good. His separation is great, but I love him catching the ball. He caught a very good diving 2-point conversion play in this game. He caught several good sideline outs where he runs down and comes back to the ball, gets a nice stop and turn, and catches the ball on the outside. That's been Mitch's best throw for us. And I like what Deontay's doing there, and he's catching everything. He had that crazy one-handed sideline circus catch last week. He had the diving corner of the end zone 2-point conversion this week. I'm really proud of Deontay's hands, and I'm proud of Claypool and the way they're using him in this offense. Pickens needs more targets. He only had one real big target in this game. Nice catch he made for 20-plus yards. I do like that. I also like the Gunnar Olszewski run on the jet sweep. That was a positive. And I like them using Najee Harris in the checkdown game. I don't like all the checkdowns. There are too many. But Najee did have 5 catches for 40 yards in this game, which if he's not going to be able to get blocking for his running, then he's going to be a nice foil in the passing game. He's a hard guy for inside linebackers and slot corners to watch. When you line up guys like Freiermuth and Najee on the outside and make them make the slot corners and the inside linebackers guard them, that's going to leave openings on the outside for our fast wide receivers like Pickens, Claypool, and Deontay. And I like that. That's a big positive. But again, this offensive line is the tantamount issue of our problems. Again, the offensive coordinator's not calling great plays, but if your line can't block and they're getting pushed in the backfield and they're not giving you a run game and they're not giving your receivers time to get open, that's an issue. Something else, besides Deontay, the other receivers aren't getting separation. Trubisky threw several tight-covered mid-range passes today from 5 to 10 yards in the middle of the field, and guys like Claypool and Boykin and Freiermuth are not getting enough separation. They're very good receivers, and they're being used well, but they're not getting separation. Deontay is the only guy getting himself open, and he's being used really well. So, again, this is a storm of a lot of things. This is not on Najee Harris. This is not on Deontay Johnson. It's really not on Trubisky. It's mainly the offensive line, and secondarily, it is the play calling. And thirdly, I would say the receivers besides Deontay have to get open a little more. Defensively, there are not many splash plays. There really is one big splash play. That's Minkah Fitzpatrick. I did want to say this. Mitch Trubisky did throw a bad interception. His pick today, his first turnover of the season, he threw one downfield, and it was clearly he was trying to throw a slant to Deontay Johnson because Deontay got in front of the safety behind him. He did not notice the corner creeping up from inside the linebacker spot. The corner floated back, and it was right in front of Trubisky's face, and he did not catch it. So that was a bad pick, and you have to eliminate those. So I will scold Trubisky on that. Defensively, Minkah with a nice pick today, jumping in front of another route. Beautiful over-the-top coverage. I think a linebacker had a deep coverage on, I think it was Spillane, had coverage on Devontae Parker downfield. It was a bit underthrown, and a nice jump by Minkah Fitzpatrick to jump the route. That's 2 weeks in a row with a beautiful pick for Minkah Fitzpatrick. He is every bit as good as the first-round pick we gave for him several years ago. That guy is a star. The biggest problem on defense was no pressure. We got no sacks in this game. That is compared to, 5 or 6 last week. We were on fire with pressure last week. We did not get much this week. The only quarterback hit that I saw was on Minkah's pick. That was a Highsmith hit on the quarterback, which was beautiful. Aside from that, we got no quarterback pressures this week. That needs to change. We tried to do a lot of things to replace TJ Watt, but there's no replacing the best defensive player in the league. He is the best. He's been the NFL sack leader for several years now. You can't replace him. They tried putting Cam Hayward on the outside. They tried moving DeMarvin Leal to the outside. They tried using Malik Reed, who is Watt's backup. And again, I think Leal has been playing very good. I like what he's doing on defense. I have him as a big plus here. He's been around the ball a bit. He's been nice in run support. He played on the outside a little bit. He had a really nice knockdown. He had a batted ball as the quarterback threw to the outside on a screen pass that he knocked down. So his instincts are nice, and he's around the ball a lot. So I like DeMarvin Leal. And Malik Reed, I think, had 3 tackles today. He played decently. He wasn't bad. For a guy who just got signed 2 weeks ago and is making his first start here for the Steelers for the best player in the league, I think Malik Reed played pretty well. He's fine, but he's just not a star. He's not a game wrecker. He's not a game changer like TJ Watt is. So that again turned the defense from being phenomenal top 5 standout defense to just being a pretty solid defense. But again, when you're playing a solid Pats team, nothing special but nothing bad either, a solid average Pats team without your best player in the league, you got to feel good about your defense playing as well as they did for the most part today. Myles Jack led the team with 7 tackles. He's everywhere. Myles Jack has been one of our best players on defense the first 2 games of this season. 7 tackles today. I think he had 12 total. 5 to 7 of those were solo, and then several others were assisted. Myles Jack is all over the place. He's also made Devin Bush a little better. Bush had 3 tackles today. He didn't do anything bad in coverage, really. He didn't stand out one way or the other, but he's not making big mistakes, and he's not missing his gaps as much as he was. I think that is Myles Jack. Being there to help him out is a big difference for that. Jack played very well today. Cam Sutton as well. Sutton does get beat for the occasional pass, but Sutton's been all over the place. He's been diving around, playing kind of like how Trey Norwood did last year. I was worried about Levi Wallace coming off an injury, but he played today. I think Sutton played pretty well overall. 2nd game in a row. He almost had a pick. He should have had one. It resulted in a Patriots score. He dropped one that was right in his hand, so you got to catch those. He was in the right place, didn't hold on to the ball, but had a nice pick last week, had an almost pick this week, made several nice tackles and several plays downfield on the ball. So I like what Sutton's doing right now, and I like Arthur Maulet playing the run as the other slot corner. That's been a nice alignment for us. But the biggest thing on defense, besides getting Watt healthy, obviously, is making the tackles in the run game. We did a great job stopping the run game through about 3 quarters. In the fourth quarter, we just got tired. We couldn't stay on our gaps, and Stevenson and Damian Harris extended the game with 4 minutes left and kept the clock running, and we couldn't get off the field again to give our offense one last try. So, again, no star player, and the defense getting tired caused that, but you got to make those tackles and give Trubisky one more chance to get on the field. Special teams-wise, a lot to talk about real quick. Gunnar Olszewski, you cannot fumble, you can't muff the ball. I know you're in the sun, you couldn't see, but there's a guy standing right in front of you 2 feet away, and you drop the ball. If you're not going to catch it, let it bounce. Big mistake there that cost us 7 points that actually, the difference in the game was 3 points. So if they had not scored that touchdown, maybe it'd be a different game here. But Gunnar Olszewski with a costly turnover there. Miles Boykin, special teams, he's been one of our aces. 2 very nice tackles as one of the Gunners getting downfield. Miles Boykin, 2 very good tackles on special teams. Busting up plays downfield on kick returns. Good job, Miles Boykin. Chris Boswell, once again, been very solid. 2 out of 2 in this game. Scored 6 of our 14 points. Boswell's been very solid this year in spite of the fact that he did miss one last week. And Presley Harvin, 4 punts for 207, including like a 69-yarder. He had a pretty good punt last week. He boomed one for like 70 in preseason. Had a pretty good punt last week, and this week he had another like 68 or 69-yarder. What a booming punt. It was the opening punt of the game for us. He kicked it downfield, punted it from like R30 all the way down to like their 5 or 10 yard line. The guy muffed it and then picked it up in the end zone and got tackled by Boykin, by Connor Hayward, but they said it was a touchback because the ball was never fully controlled. So we almost got a safety and the ball back, but it wound up being a muffed kick that was never controlled, so they got the ball at the 20 instead. But 60-something, 68, 69-yard punt from Harvin. He's been pretty good this season. So Harvin, Boswell, and Boykin, I wanted to give some good feedback to there. So all in all, we lose 17-14, but it's not the end of the world. Cincinnati's playing right now as I record this against Dallas. Dallas playing without their starting quarterback. So there's a good chance Cincinnati wins that game. Even if they do, they go to 1-1, and we already beat them. So we have the same record now at 1-1. Cincinnati might lose and they go 0-2, but if they win here like expected, they go to 1-1. We're ahead of them with the same record. Baltimore lost. They were ahead 28-7 at halftime. Miami came back and beat them. So Baltimore is down to 1-1. The Jets also came back to beat Cleveland late by 1 point in another shocker. So Cleveland is now 1-1. So the 4 of us all have the same records, and Pittsburgh is 1-0 in our division. So Pittsburgh tied record-wise and ahead of Cincinnati in the divisional column already. So we're still in very good shape. This game doesn't cost us anything. It's a game I think we should have won. I think we're the better team. To lose at home to the Patriots, not a loss you want to have. But again, playing them tight without T.J. Watt, and even though it's a home loss, it's not the end of the world because we're just 1-1 like the rest of our division. So Pittsburgh has got quick turnaround now. Game on Thursday night, playing again in just 4 days. Going to Cleveland for another divisional game. A game that I would like to see us win. Cleveland is a very good running team, but not a very good overall team with a starting quarterback who's not playing. So we're playing against Brissett. We've got a divisional game Thursday night in prime time, so it's going to be a dogfight regardless. You know how the AFC North is. What do you guys think of this game? Tell me in the comments below. What are your impressions? Who stood out to you positively and negatively? Is it already time for Kenny? I don't think so. I think it's way too soon. But what do you guys think about the quarterback controversy? What do you guys think we have to do on offense? And what do you guys think we need to do on defense to make up for TJ Watt's absence? Tell me in the comments below. Please like, share, and subscribe if you like these videos. I put up one for last week. Go check that out. And I'll be doing one on Thursday, so come back Thursday night or Friday morning for that review. And I'll see you guys soon. Go Steelers.